Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner, and this is Stage 3 of Dauphiné 2021. Now, there's not much happening on today's stage. It's a sleeper to begin with. It will get exciting with 20K to go, and we'll have a ride-along with Cofidis because they got a little bit of problems back there under 20K to go. First part of the stage, 2 riders get away, maximum lead of 4 minutes. When I come on and sitting on the couch, they got about a 2-minute lead. The group is curb to curb with 70 kilometers to go, and there's no threat. There's no wind out there. The roads aren't dangerous. It's not crazy cold. The breakaway is only 2 riders, and they're still very close with 70 kilometers to go. But when you're looking at the field, they're always curb to curb. Not stressing, but for sure they're being told, all the big teams, the GC guys, Jumbo-Visma, Ineos Grenadiers, of course, Bora Hansgrohe, with race leader Polstelberger is going to be at front, but so are all the other teams. And they're really just adding a little more chaos to a stage, but it's really not necessary. There's no reason for teams to be at the front like this with 70K to go. So it's just coming from the cars, from the managers back there telling them to be at front. So 70K to go, the group is curb to curb. 60K, they're still curb to curb. 50K, they're curb to curb. 40K to go, they're curb to curb. 30K to go, they're curb to curb. 20K to go, and they're still curb to curb, but now the action's getting a little exciting. Now the 2 breakaway riders up front, they were caught right around 20K to go. No big deal. They had no effect on today's stage whatsoever. But with 15 kilometers to go, after the racing started getting nervous with 20K, is when we see a crash. The crash back there happens, and it's a Cofidis rider, their race leader, Guillaume Martin. He goes down, held up in the crash, but I believe not going down, is Chris Froome, and you'll see him in the picture, and then he'll jump back on his bike. Don't see any damage, and I don't even believe he came off the bike, but he gets back on the pedals and finds his way back up to the peloton. Now, Guillaume Martin with Cofidis, that's a different story. He went down, he's got a little cut on his knee, no big deal. He's got some teammates waiting for him. You'll see the mechanic running over, handing him a new bike. That mechanic is on top of things. He clearly must have been jumping out of the car with the spare bike for his team leader there, Martin, and running over with it because Guillaume Martin has that bike right away. He jumps on it, and he's got 3 teammates with him. Now things start getting a little more exciting here. With 13.5 kilometers to go, they're behind their team car, and the camera motorcycle is on the left. Team car is on the right. The 4 Cofidis riders are lined up like this. And you'll see the cars are passing between the camera motorcycle. They're behind their team car here on the right. So the cars that are passing that all got held up, which is just about all of them at this crash, now are flying between the motorcycle camera and the riders on the right. This is fine as long as the riders on the right, the Cofidis riders behind their team car, are staying on the right. So you see 1 car pass, 2 cars pass. Now the Cofidis riders have to pull out into the left of the lane. And the reason why is there's another car in front of the Cofidis guys already stopped on the right side in the right lane with the mechanic jumping out of the car. The Cofidis car now, the director's going to have to get on the brakes at some point in time. He'll let off the gas or even get on the brakes, and then the riders will slingshot around to the left. The problem is all the cars had already shot through on the left, and DSM director's car back there is ready to follow those guys. He has to slam on the brakes. It's not his fault at all. The reason why the car in front that was already stopped has now blocked up the right lane. Cofidis director driving the car has to slow down and stop his car. Riders are forced now. The Cofidis riders are forced going out immediately into the left lane with the camera motorcycle, and that's making everything really tight. The DSM director, in my opinion, did a fabulous job here. It was clear road. There's no way he can predict at that time. There's so much chaos happening. He's following the cars in front, and he doesn't have a clear view. Now, immediately, when the Cofidis riders come over, he's got to edge as close as he can to the camera motorcycle, not hit the Cofidis guys, slow his car down, slot behind him, and now follow them through the left side of the lane. It was a pretty exciting moment in the race there that had a lot of perfect storms coming together all at once with the camera motorcycle, the stopped vehicle up front with the mechanic getting out, the Cofidis driver taking up the right lane, the 4 riders chasing, swinging hard into the left lane, and the DSM car who was absolutely brilliant on getting on the brakes there and not hitting the riders. So if you watched that on video, you probably missed the car that was stopped parked there, and we might have been yelling at the DSM director like I was when I was sitting on the couch. When I replayed it though and caught all the footage, I realized that actually the DSM rider was quite brilliant, fantastic with his with his foot on the brakes to keep anything from happening. He was fantastic and brilliant and quick with the foot. With 12 kilometers to go, Guillaume Martin, he's behind his team car now, and his 3 team riders are up ahead. They lost their race leader. This happens often. Guys are getting excited. When you have 4 riders going through the caravan now, the front rider that's getting the draft off of the bumper of whichever team car he happens to be behind is getting an amazing draft. The 4th rider, team leader Guillaume Martin, his draft isn't so good. So the first rider from Cofidis has to remember when he's getting the draft off that car that he's got to back off just a little bit, but he feels like Superman, correct? Because when he gets behind the car, the draft is so big behind the team cars that he feels like Superman now, and he's probably doing 70k an hour. So he's just flying up to the bumper, slingshotting off, but then there's Guillaume Martin that never got that same draft, and he's hurting and he's going to get popped. So when he gets popped, Cofidis team car comes around the back, gets Guillaume Martin back on the bumper again, and brings him back up to the team. Now, right after that, things start getting interesting because with 8.3 kilometers to go, now the group is just catching on to the field, to the peloton there, but they're at the back and they're coming into a roundabout. This roundabout's going to get interesting and make the race a little more exciting for the Cofidis guys and put some hurt to the legs of the domestiques back there riding for Guillaume Martin. They'll go through the roundabout. There's a bump that comes out of the roundabout, and we'll see the speeds at 50k an hour. So we're coming into that roundabout, about 8.3 kilometers to go to the finish. So we're nearing the finish, so you know the front of the race is going fast because the sprinter teams and all the GC teams are up there trying to stay safe. As they come out of that roundabout, now it thinned up the peloton, and the guys in the front are just sprinting like crazy to hold their position and keep the speed fast so their team leaders and team sprinters can't get swarmed by the field. It's a bit of a drag going up, and they're doing 50k an hour full sprint out of that roundabout. You got to remember, Cofidis boys already have been chasing now for a long time. We're talking about 6-7 kilometers full on chasing, and they're just reached the back of the field, back of the peloton when they went through the roundabout, and now they're sprinting at the front, and they're doing 50k an hour. After the slight little uphill rise, I believe it must be a false descent afterwards because the speeds go from 50k an hour, 55k an hour, 60k an hour. You start seeing the field strung out. 65k an hour is going now. 70k an hour, you start seeing there's starting to be little splits in the field back there. Remember, it's the Cofidis guys all back there swinging dead last as splits are happening all over in front of them and little gaps are starting to appear. 75, 80k an hour they start reaching, and now you see just the field blows up and the whole Cofidis team with their team leaders in the second group trying to get back on. They'll keep chasing, and finally with 6 kilometers to go, it's another roundabout that will save the Cofidis guys as they come down the hill. Now the Cofidis guys are up to that same kind of speed, but they're split off on the back. The road starts bending to the left, and surprising to the front of the group there's going to be another roundabout that will slow that group down a little bit, and now the Cofidis guys can latch back on. So we're talking about from 15 kilometers all the way to 6 kilometers ago, Cofidis have been chasing flat out. They've come in some danger areas there with the DSM car trying to pass. Now up front, not much happened until about 2K to go besides that crash. At 2K to go, the Koenig Quicksteps has the front, and Sony Cabrelli's back there in about 5th, 6th position with about 1.7K to go. Sony Cabrelli goes up and smacks hard the right side of the Bora Hansgrohe rider, Michael Schwartzman. Now, Schwartzman moves hard left after getting bumped, almost takes out the rider right behind him on his left side of his wheel, and just behind that was race leader Postelberger. So if Sony Cabrelli causes Schwartzman to crash there. It takes out race leader Postelberger along with him. Sonny Cabrelli will be up there in about third or fourth spot. Schwartzman, in my opinion, made one big mistake here. After he got bumped off, I know probably what he's feeling because I've done it many times myself, so I'm guilty of this crime. He's going to sprint back up to the wheel of Sonny Cabrelli and pass Sonny Cabrelli, and then we lose the photo there, and he passes him on the right. I would assume after he passed him, he probably bumped him good or hit him on the hip or yelled at him or something there, but we don't have that on film, so that's just my guess. I know that's probably what I would have done. Now, what would have been the smart decision for Schwartzman once he got bumped off is it's Sonny Cabrelli, and he's the fastest sprinter in this race. So if Michael Schwartzman was smart, he would have just smart and calm and thinking patient and being relaxed at that moment. He'd have said, I just got bumped. It's another sprinter bumping another sprinter. He hit me hard, but I'm just going to relax because it's Sonny Cabrelli, so I'm going to slot back onto his wheel, and I'm going to take his wheel all the way to the line. Instead, like I said, Michael Schwartzman gets aggressive and spends a lot of energy in the wind to pass him back, only to lose that wheel and drift back in the sprint and not get a top placing on today's stage. Now with 500 meters to go, it's Michael Kwiatkowski that's leading it out of the turns there, and Sonny Cabrelli sitting second wheel with G. Thomas sitting third wheel on Sonny Cabrelli's. Ineos have done a fantastic job of keeping G. Thomas in a great position so he won't lose any time splits on today's stage, and who knows, maybe he can get some time bonuses. But the main objective is keep him at front so there's no splits. Now, once that's happening, we're talking 500 meters to go, 400 meters to go, UAE Team Emirates are going up the left side, and it's Alexander Kristoff, their sprinter, sitting second wheel. He's in a golden position. They'll attack from 400 to about 3 and start their sprint, but that team will blow up and not factor in not those guys from that team. 20 guys back is the American Brandon McNulty, who rides for UAE Team Emirates, and he's coming up the outside fast, and he's been doing it from 500 meters out. To UAE Emirates, Alexander Kristoff will blow up and not even factor in the sprint after 300 meters to go. And it's Alex Aramburu. We saw him earlier this year at the Basque Country, put on a fantastic ride there. He's attacking up the left side to go with 300 meters. Sonny Cabrelli, who got in a little bit of a tangle there with the Ineos riders, and Casper Askren from Deceuninck Quickstep finds his way out of that, switches from the right side of the road all the way to the left, latches on to Alex Aramburu's wheel with about 250 meters to go. At 150 meters to go, he'll start his sprint. He truly has been sprinting for much longer than that, but now he's starting 100% effort at 150 meters to go. He'll drag race with Aramburu, finally pull past him for a fantastic win. We talked about it yesterday on the butterfly effect. Bahrain victorious. We're motivated for today's stage. You know there was some pressure on Sonny Cabrelli with this being the last stage that he has a chance to win. He's in the sprint leaders jersey. He'll get more points for winning today's stage. It was a great win, and you can see the pressure that was put on Sonny Cabrelli's shoulders there at 1.7K to go when he was bumping with the Bora Hansgrohe rider. That's really all that was about. Back there, he had plenty of room to pass the Bora Hansgrohe rider, or plenty of time to still wait a second and then pass him cleanly later. Instead, it's just the excitement, the energy, the stress level that a pro sprinter feels when it's the last day and he's been so close so many times. He'll do a fantastic sprint. He gets the stage win. More points on the sprint leaders jersey. It was great. Alex Aramburu from Astana did a great job to hold on to second. And the American kid, Brandon McNulty, man, was he impressive. Coming from 600 meters back there, he was in 20th spot, and he did an amazing ride to come up and get a podium, third place on today's stage. Hope you guys enjoyed today's stage 3 of the Dauphiné. We had some real excitement there with about 15 kilometers to go all the way to the finish. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys real soon for tomorrow's 16-kilometer time trial.